Stay put. I do not want to hurt you. John, come.
So,
cuff him.
So, you
Cynthia, you okay?
arresting me now? You arresting me? Gaza, we supposed to be partners. Gaza, you're messing me up, Gaza. You're really messing me up.
Cynthia, come here.
Cynthia!
Lincoln, you accosted your wife in front of me. An upholder, an officer, an enforcer of the law. What do you expect me to do, huh? Our partner?
My wife, baby.
Come over here, Cynthia.
Let me go, Owen. We are partners, man.
Of course, we are partners. But I have to protect you from yourself now. Cynthia, come over here.
But Gaza, take them things over, Gaza.
Then, brother man, you should have known this before you choose to hurt your wife.
Oh, when, God. John, drop me, man. You don't know. You don't know who I am. I'm Sergeant 44.
Yeah.
No man can touch me.
Yeah, we know, man, Link. Sakapezi, Sasi, Kwevche, man. Kwevche.
Let me go, man. Cynthia!
I'm sorry, Lincoln. I'm sorry. I love you so much.
Lincoln Gas. I've known you for so long, man, and you've been doing this for as long as I have known you. It's time to stop, man. I tell you already, you cannot continue like this, man.
Please, God.
Cynthia, come over here.
Please.
Take him away, John.
Owen, please, Cynthia.
Owen.
Cynthia.
I'm sorry, Lincoln. I'm so sorry.
Come on, Sissy. Come, Sissy. Come. It's okay, Sissy. It's going to be okay. You're doing the right thing, Cynthia. You do deserve some form of happiness in your life, not this.
Well, you think I finished, huh? I must in all of your tales. I pay the court so slow. When fini, when I come back.
And that was it, folks. Episode 15 of I Write. And I told you, I was telling you all along. Just like Lincoln was saying, yes, I'm not toujours right. I was telling you all along, and it was ho, and it was show. Ite ho, ite show. Of course, I want to say good evening and welcome to, I can't say my guest, I have to say co-host, you know. I can't say guest, but yes.
Really?
I want to say good evening to you, Della. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks.
Hold on,
good
let me just fix something there for
everybody.
you very quickly there. Right. Let me say that. Let's do that again. Yes. Good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening, Roger, and good evening to everybody. I'm doing fine.
All right. Don't forget, folks. The number to call, of course, it's 458-2488, and of course, you could always hit us up on our WhatsApp platform. Of course, you could call on WhatsApp, or you could leave messages at 489-4781, and of course, also on Facebook at our Caribbean. You could check us out on Caribbean Hitz FM. And of course, you could if you don't already have it, download the Hitz FM app. And of course, you could have us everywhere you go. You could listen to I Write even if you in a disco. Yes. Okay, so let's do a little recap of what happened on tonight's show. Well, Lincoln comes home to find the police at his home. When he walks in, he finds Owen, Cynthia, and Eve talking. As usual, in Lincoln style and fashion, he gets vexed. An argument ensues, and of course, he gets violent. Okay, now let's move forward a little bit. Mariage is having a conversation with Ashton. He's curious as to why he has never seen her with a man or in a relationship. Mariage explains that she is married to God. They continue talking, and Mariage tells him a little bit about her father. Now, Lincoln, back to Lincoln again. He continues to argue with Owen and Cynthia. Now, he suspects Owen and Cynthia's closeness and accuses Owen of wanting his wife. he gets angrier and more violent until Owen eventually has to arrest Lincoln because of that. Now, folks, let me give you the numbers again. 458-2488. I'm going to give you a lot of time to call in and to make your contributions and your comments. Of course, the WhatsApp platform, 489-4781. And, of course, you could either call in on our WhatsApp or leave a message. And, of course, Facebook at Caribbean Hitz FM. Now, let's deal with this Lincoln thing. And there are so many things happening there. First of all, I'd like to jump on Owen. I think Owen did a wonderful job. I think, many times in our society, just because you are friends with certain people in authority, you feel you could get away with whatever you're doing. Well, Owen stood up and he said, look, man, not because you are sergeant and I'm your friend that you think you're going to get away with what you're doing. I've known that you've been doing that for a long time. I can kind of play devil's advocate and kind of turn against Owen too, because he knew for a long time. But the point is, enough was enough. And Owen had to do something because in his presence as an officer trying to, find another way, maybe he just came to speak to Cynthia and Lincoln and try to get them to see reason. They had to get Lincoln to see reason. Lincoln don't want to hear nothing. He attacks Eve. He wants Eve out of his home. He attacks Cynthia. He accuses Owen of having something with his wife. That's how demented he got. That's how I see it. He got so demented that everything is now against him. Everything is against him. Well, Owen wasn't having it. You get so violent. You hitting your wife in the presence of an officer, notwithstanding that he's your friend. The presence of an officer, and you expect the man to just, turn a blind eye.
But it happens.
Yes, it does happen.
Unfortunately.
It happens a lot in our society. It happens a lot in St. Lucia. And I think that's a lesson to a lot of people out there. Those of you who are listening. Okay?
The interesting thing about, I would say our laws is that without a complainant and also without a witness, it is very difficult to take any of these things to court or charge anybody or that kind of thing. The victim first must be willing to make a statement, must be willing to call the police, must be willing to follow through with the whole situation.
Agreed.
What made it possible for Owen to take a stand in that moment was that it happened in front of him.
Yes.
And not just as an officer of the law, but also as a witness to what happened.
I think also you have to take into consideration that he was a friend of both of them.
Yes.
And he did not use the fact that Lincoln was his colleague and of course working in the same thing. He had to kind of balance it and use a lot of discernment there. And of course I believe he acted right when he said, look, enough is enough. You have to stop that nonsense. I have known you long enough, and for as long as I've known you, you're beating your wife.
But to take into consideration also, Owen is in love with Cynthia.
Yeah. But,
right?
Yes.
But he was a true friend throughout all of it, a true friend to both of them.
Yes.
Throughout all of it. And he maintained integrity and respect throughout the entire situation.
I think that is...
And I think Lincoln just went too far that time.
Yes. I believe also, in our society that you have a lot of instances where the police do, have to deal with domestic violence cases. And they are not so, how would I say, down the middle, and straightforward when it comes to dealing with domestic violence issues. And sometimes, they, because of the friendship with the lady, they sometimes just take it on just because of the lady. And of course, that sometimes leads elsewhere. It does happen. In this case, I have to commend Owen, even if he is in love with Cynthia.
Yes.
But he used the fact that he was both of their friends. And I think that was very, very, very commendable.
The other thing this situation brings out very clearly is police officers are human too, and they have their own situations for them to deal with, and that poses challenges for them as well. But as anything else, like with doctors and with teachers, while we do take into consideration that they are human too, they also are held to a higher standard.
Yes.
Fortunately or unfortunately, however which way you look at it, but they are held to a higher standard, and so they need to behave in that manner. And unfortunately, as we have seen throughout the episodes of I Write, Lincoln has not maintained that at all.
The sad part of it is he's a sergeant in the police force. And, I don't think that I don't want to be wrong, but, in the presence of maybe a junior officer, I don't know if Owen is really and truly a junior officer, but he's a sergeant in the force. And you're doing that in front of a fellow officer?
But one thing that we have learned throughout the entire process of this is that it does not really matter what position you hold within society. It's what values you have.
Exactly.
And what you think is right or wrong. In his opinion, you remember he said it's his house, it's his wife, it's his children. So in his opinion, they are his to do with as he pleases. And if it means giving them a slap here, there, and everywhere, that's his value. So it doesn't matter that he's a sergeant in the police force, but his values state that it's okay to beat up on his wife. And so that is something that we need to look at very closely.
I think so.
What are the value system that we build within our society? And there are a lot of things that we seem to have come to the point where we say it's okay. And it certainly isn't. If we look at our laws, it certainly isn't. And even some of our laws, the way they're written, they're discriminatory to certain sectors of society.
I would agree.
And so we need to take all of these things into consideration.
I would agree. And they have certain sectors of society that use those laws and use those things very, 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 very well. And, of course, to their advantage. And, of course, we have a call coming in. Hello, good evening, good night. Welcome to the program. You're on the air.
Hi, good night.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am nice, great, wonderful, blessed, and all the rest. We are waiting. I was waiting with bated breath for your input on your favorite person, Lincoln.
Tonight.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Tonight, I was feeling so sorry. I was feeling so sorry for Lincoln.
Wow. You feeling sorry for Lincoln?
So, honestly, I was feeling sorry for Lincoln. Because the amount of hatred I heard in Lincoln's voice is not a joke.
That is very true.
Lincoln had a lot of hatred in his voice, and unfortunately ignorance, a whole lot of ignorance in his voice. For a police, what is his rank? For a rank in police, he was very ignorant. Sergeant. I don't know if he's right. If he's right, they just write a sergeant rank for him. But he was really ignorant for a sergeant. What?
Yeah.
I don't know. They probably raffled him to sergeant, because for a sergeant to be so ignorant, a raffle that was there.
No, but
him as the mo.
No, but
so So yes, and when he heard who saved him, and Eve and this and that person, right?
Yes.
Eve, when he heard Eve giving CPR, he wanted to vomit his guts out. I feeling sorry for him. I feeling sorry for him.
I kind of agree, but Kola, you know something. While feeling sorry for him, I think something. I think the right thing.
Kind of feel sorry. I just like as if nothing cannot change him. Like nothing cannot like so.
I don't know. I'm still holding out. I'm still holding out hope for him. The fact that he's been he's going to have to answer for his wrongdoing, and of course, as a police officer, you know they're not going to be very easy on Lincoln, because you know better. You're supposed to be upholding the law, and here you are breaking the law, and here you are breaking the law in front of police officers.
He's not showing no nothing of that sort. He's not doing it like everything is like his way, like is his way, and not willing to learn or willing to do anything. But I'm feeling sorry for Lincoln.
Well, I'm feeling sorry for him, but
they're trying to tell him he just came from the hospital and stuff. He not paying that. He just had a heart attack. He not paying nothing like that.
I think the little time that he's going to have to spend accounting for his sin, I think that might have a little effect on Lincoln, because I mean, for so many years he's been bringing people into the station, and now he's being brought into the station. That has to have some kind of effect on the man, don't you think?
Effect, well, easy for him to commit to whatever. If it's anger management or anything, if he's committed to it, well, something can happen. But
well, exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm leading into, because when you are hauled before the courts, and you have to account for your sin. It could go two ways. If Lincoln gets on the same way in front of the magistrate or the judge, well, they're just going to throw the book at him. But if he shows, some sort of remorse, and then he says, okay, well, I'm sorry, they're going to say, look, you could say all the sorry you want, but you need help, and we are ordering you now to do this or to do that, or so on and so on and so on. So I, in that kind of light, I think there is still a little hope for Lincoln. I'm still having the little flag and flying the little flag for Lincoln there.
But let me pick the callers mind for a bit. But what do you think about Cynthia, though? Lincoln has just hit her in front of the police and in front of her daughter, and she's still telling him that she loves him, and she's still gonna be there and what have you. What do you think about Cynthia, and what sort of advice would you offer to all of the Cynthias that we have in St. Lucia around the world?
Okay, to the Cynthias, or if we have any other Cynthias, they are in love with their husband, even though the abuse, and it's clearly abuse. Try and get some help. There is help everywhere. There is professional help. Because you not want to go and the person is not professional, and you hear your business everywhere. So there is professional help available. So take advantage of it.
But caller, don't you also think that because of the fact that Cynthia has been traumatized for so many years in a relationship like that,
she's a customer already.
Yeah, well,
she doesn't even see it as that.
Right. Okay, but after she
as abuse.
Okay, she's not seeing it as abuse, but yes, you're saying that she should get help, she should get professional help, and so on and so on. Do you think that after that professional help, that she should go back with Lincoln, going to live in the same house with Lincoln again, hoping that Lincoln will change? Do you think she should do that?
To me, because she went to speak to the pastor, the counselor, but was that enough? That's another thing. Does she learn anything? She was trying to get Lincoln in, but Lincoln never went in. So both of them are headstrong.
I understand. So, yes, but for
them are headstrong.
For all the Cynthias out there,
ignorant. Lincoln full of hatred in his heart.
Yes.
Lincoln full of everything in his heart. Now the hatred, when you see you have hatred, it lines up with a lot of things.
That is why I'm asking you, do you think that Cynthia...
The person who helped him, his friend, he's seeing as if he wants Cynthia you want to take over Cynthia's house and want to take over Cynthia's life with Cynthia and no.
Yeah, but darling, I'm asking the question. Do you think, what advice would you give the Cynthias out there? The question has been asked. What advice would you give the Cynthias out there? Even after all the help, do you think Cynthia should go back there? No, but do you think Cynthia should go back there? I'm asking the question. I'm playing devil's advocate. Do you think Cynthia, after all the help, should go back to Lincoln?
But she'll go back. So
I don't know. I'm asking.
To know if to go back. She will go back.
But I'm asking you. Do you think she should?
25 years. I cannot tell. I cannot. If she does. If I give her advice and she's saying she loves her husband, she wants to go back with her husband. She wants to go back with her husband. I cannot tell her don't go back with her husband.
Okay.
Of course, we know she'll go back with her husband.
Okay then. All right.
Yes.
All right.
And I want to say something else about marriage, and she's talking about she married to Jesus and all kind of things.
Yes.
So this is a true story. There was this man living by my house, and every Sunday she was going to church. Every Sunday, and there was once she was telling us she had to go and take out a fibroid inside of her. And but the man had a boyfriend.
Okay.
But it was a secret boyfriend. And 9 months later, the fibroid and a baby came out. So let me tell you, this nun's not nothing easy. And that's a true story. The baby is now 18 years. The baby left school. The baby is 18 years now.
And you think
when the nuns tell you they fall in love with Jesus, some of them they genuine, some of them they are not.
So you think marriage is playing around with
the
Ashton?
way marriage speaking there, marriage has something else in the pipeline. The way marriage defending herself there, to me marriage on another level, to me the way she's speaking.
Now you're making me laugh. I didn't want to laugh.
But honestly, the way marriage answering the question, like she was waiting for these answers for the questions. Marriage have something up her sleeve.
Okay.
But caller, she did say that she's heard the rumors, and in her defense, we do have that tendency in our society. If we don't see a man with a woman, we automatically ascribe sexuality to him. Or if we don't see a woman with a man, we automatically say, you know what, I think she's into women. We do that, and we do make those judgments. So maybe in her head, people have been making those judgments, and so she's just ready with an answer.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, there are some people who are very private, and sometimes privacy falls into that. But some of them no way.
Okay.
Nothing cannot happen. Yes. Bye.
Okay then. Bye. Okay. Wow. That was.
But
that lady is really
she's faithful to her right.
Yes,
I must say
that.
Faithful to listening and faithful to following the story and making her contributions.
Oh, by the way, we have her number so that we're going to be contacting her for that survey. Okay. Yes, and of course I'm putting it out there again. Do you want to make the program better? Are you a regular listener? We would love to hear what you have to say. So just send your number to 489-4781. Of course, we're going to contact you. We're going to drop that survey, and you're going to give us the answers, how you feel, what you think, and all that. I want to get back to the situation with Cynthia. And I have my little thing to say on that. While Owen has diffused the situation, and Lincoln is now going to have to account for him, I believe Cynthia, yes, should seek the help. I also believe Cynthia should move on with her life. You have been taking that. That's just I'm just playing the devil's advocate here. You have been in a relationship that has been torrid and abusive for so many years. Okay? Yes, you love your husband. I think that is the block there for her to actually stand up and say, I am not taking this anymore. I think it has to do with probably her demeanor. That's how she is. very timid person and so on, and just for so many years has just been taking it and almost probably thinking, well, that's okay. And now she's getting a chance to get out of that and to get some help. That's my humble view. I do not think Cynthia should go back into that. I'm sending the message out to all the Cynthias out there. You need to love yourself more than you love the person. You have to love yourself. I've always said that a dead man cannot help a dying man. You want to help Lincoln, he's your husband, you said for better or for worse. But if you're in a worse situation than Lincoln, how can you help him?
But Roger, let me give you a little bit of information. First of all, it says that you have to attempt to leave somebody 7 times before you leave them. That's what.
I agree with that.
That's what. It says you will make at least 7 attempts to walk out of a relationship before you actually finally walk out of the relationship. That's one. Secondly, we need to understand the psychological trauma that domestic violence victims suffer, be it female or male. And I maybe want to think that it might be worse for a man, because men supposed to be so macho and everything else, and then to admit that when you go home, your woman beating you, that's just something else. The psychological breakdown and the process that you go through when you are a domestic violence victim, it is very, very difficult for you to get up one day and say, you know what, I am better than this. Because it's a process of demeaning and breakdown of you knowing and understanding who you are. And being able to stand for yourself, being able to see yourself as valuable and worthy, so that you now can take that stand for yourself. And what we have learned throughout doing the process of I Write is that it is very important for these persons to have support systems. Without a strong support system, they're going anywhere.
That is very true.
And even with the support system, it is still very difficult to get them to make that decision and to see their situation for what it is, and then for them to stand up and say,
let me just ask
I
a
want to
question.
walk away.
Do you think that, it has to be a case where they have to, they have to make that choice?
Yes, well, it has to come from them.
It has to come from them.
It cannot come from outside. It has to come from inside. They need to be the one to decide, you know what, I've taken enough. This is where this is at for me, and I need to walk away from this situation. And until they get to that point, you can preach Paul, nothing will happen. But in this, I also want to give a hotline, the 202 hotline.
202.
This hotline is for the gender relations. It's for you, a victim of domestic violence.
Whether it's male or female?
Whether it's male or female.
Oh, very good.
You dealing with a difficult situation in your home. You call the 202 hotline, and there is somebody there who will help you to deal with your situation.
Folks, listen to it. Listen.
Okay.
I'm going to say it again. The number is 202. Call 202 if you are in a domestic abuse situation, and it is for men and women.
Right. It does not matter what your gender is.
Let me say it like this again. It is for men and women. Okay? Women will use the number. Men will be afraid. They will not want to use it. They don't want people to know their business. The macho thing will come in. But partner, am I speaking to somebody tonight? Partner, call the number.
Yes, and we need to understand. Yes, we see our friends and we talk to our friends and we listen to the drama and we say, Cynthia, she don't see that she have to leave that man. All well and good. Yes, she does.
But the process,
for her well-being and for saving her life.
Yes.
Because the last time he beat her unconscious.
And look, here's the point. Owen had to see that the injury to Cynthia,
yeah,
you know,
that was when
so
he became
bad.
conscious. Up to now, it cannot heal yet.
Yeah.
So for saving her own life, she needs to take that stand. However, the psychological damage that she has suffered, it will make it a challenge for her to do that. We know of educated women, bachelors, masters, PhDs, who are in abusive relationships.
Yes.
Because we have women who are in managerial positions. They come to work and they run an entire department, and then when they go home, it's a different story. Because it's a vicious cycle, and it's one that we need to understand, one that we need to stop doing victim shaming in, and we need to offer more support to the victims, be it male or female,
yes,
and offer them that support so that they can reverse some of the psychological damage and now take a stand for themselves.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think it is I mean, for a man, yes, it is difficult for him to admit that he's in a domestic abusive, in a relationship that's just abusive. Do you think the process of healing is any different for a man as per a woman?
Is the process of grief any different for a man as opposed to a woman?
I don't think so, but I had to throw the question out there. Somebody maybe, asking, they don't want to ask, so I ask for them.
No,
I do not think it's different, but
I don't think it's different either.
I don't think it's different, but some people may think, I say, no,
Understood.
I don't want to go through that, nothing, but it is the same. The same way a man cry, a woman crying too. Same way a woman cry, a man crying.
Pain is pain.
Pain is
Hurt
pain.
is hurt.
No matter how you look at it, But I am very happy that, Cynthia and Lincoln has a friend like Owen. Although Owen trying to move on the man girlfriend.
Well, that happens,
I just had to throw that one in there.
Come on. We're human and
Yes,
it's real.
yes.
That happens,
It happens,
Yes.
yes.
But we have to applaud Owen for the position that he took.
Yes.
He respected the friendship,
Yes.
and he chose to remain friends and remain on the outside and just be a good friend to both of them, or attempt to be a good friend to both of them.
The other thing too is Owen really did try to get Lincoln to behave himself. Calm yourself. I'm here to. I don't think he was going to be arrested. I think that they were going to talk to him and tell him that he needs to get help.
Well, I think that's what Owen intended.
But
he took it a step too far.
Lincoln took it a step too far. You hitting your wife.
In front
the
of the
person
police.
who's already been abused. The lady have an injury to her face, and you hitting the woman in front of a police officer. Yeah, no.
But
That is ignorance on a whole different level.
I want to agree with the first caller. Lincoln does have, I don't know if it's I don't want to say it's hatred. I want to think that it is disappointment that has festered for so long,
yes.
that it is coming out with such anger and hatred.
Yes.
I want to think that he had all of these dreams and hopes and aspirations for his daughter as a young lady growing up into a woman, and in her being who she is, it has kind of thrown him off a
think
little.
that is very sad.
And so his disappointment is manifesting in a very, very challenging way for him. But it is something that happens within families.
Yes,
You hear, unfortunately, the young boy who took his life in Denry, his mother said, I had a son. I gave birth to a son.
Yes.
And it was a challenge for her coming to that realization and understanding that. And unfortunately, she never got there. Wow. And her son had time to take his life because he felt so alone. We are now in the process where we're doing our youth engagement, our community engagement, and our street theater. And we were in Ancillary on Saturday. And the youth group, the theater group who was performing in Ancillary on Saturday, they performed the poem that he wrote just before he took his life. They did it to music and dance.
Very good, very good.
And it was very interesting after to hear the comments from some of the persons within the community and persons who were actually saying, you know what, it's about time that, you know, we come to realize that these are our children. And yes, however it is, they have grown to be, or the choices they have made, at the end of the day, it is still our children, and we need to love our children for who they are.
Yes.
Or else we will continue losing them.
Yes.
And this afternoon, we were in Constitution Park, and we presented again, you know, street theater through dance and drama and spoken word. And one of the pieces that was done by a young gay gentleman, and he danced with the rainbow flag, and there was somebody in the crowd who was booing him, you know. But the beautiful thing is the rest of the crowd were very engaged, and they enjoyed what they saw being presented by him, and they understood what was being presented by the group of young people who were there. So it's while I think we are still a long way off, I think we are slowly making strides to understand that everybody is entitled to make their choices, and that we need to be very careful when it comes to the topic of human rights, and being open to understanding that everybody has a right, and everybody has a right to choose.
Exactly. I'm very heartened at the fact that you know, performing in Constitution Park.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is very sad that the one person who was booing could not, you know, join the rest of the crowd and you know, take in what was happening and probably learn from it and probably adjust his or her attitude. That's very sad. But I'm very heartened to know that in the middle of town, Constitution Park, where, you know, a lot of things are being discussed, that people kind of took it on board and stopped and looked and, you know, was very interested in what was happening and was kind of accepting, you know, what was happening there. If to say so, I think that was a good thing.
But I think it's also a matter of creating safe spaces for everybody.
Yes.
And I think the young people that we took this afternoon and that we will continue to work with feel safe and protected. They know that they are going to be dealing with some sensitive issues, but they also know that they are, or they will be, protected in whatever it is they are presenting. And that is very, very important, because we don't create safe spaces for our children, and not just our children, but for people on a whole. Yes. We're not comfortable to say how we feel. We're not comfortable to say what we think, because we feel that we're going to be attacked and we're going to be ostracized.
Yeah, it's almost as if it's a bad thing for you to say or to speak up.
And to be yourself.
And to be yourself.
And it is very important for us to understand that we need to give people the opportunity to be who they are, and to be open and honest about how they feel and what they think.
Yes.
You know, and creating these safe spaces where people can be who they are, where a parent can say, I am having a challenge with my child's choice and I need help, is an important thing.
That is a big thing. I think that's a big, that is by far the biggest issue that we have. Where people can say, I have a problem with that and I want to find a way to deal with it.
When a man can come and say, I am dealing with some challenges at home and I need help. Feeling comfortable and feeling safe enough to make those acclamations and know that you are not going to be laughed at, you're not going to be judged, and you're not going to be, you know, thrown out the door having to figure it out on your own, is very, very important for our society right now.
Okay, we're quickly running out of time, but that's kind of a recap again. Well, Lincoln came home to find the police at his house, and of course he was livid with rage. He walks in, he finds Owen, his good friend, Cynthia and Eve talking. The fact that Eve was there kind of ticked him off. He starts to argue, And of course, Lincoln again gets violent. With Mariage having a conversation with Ashton is poking her and prodding her, and, you know. But, you know, and with Ashton there, needing to do his homework, needing to get serious about his CSEC exams and so on. And Mariage is telling him, look, man, you need to, you know, there are so many benefits and there are pros and cons and so on. And Ashton saying he's curious to why he's never seen her with a man or in a relationship. Mariage explains that she's married to God. And of course, they continue talking, and Mariage tells him a little bit about her father and son. Lincoln continues to argue with Owen and Cynthia, accusing Owen of wanting his wife, wanting his home, wanting his children, wanting his everything, of again living the rich, and the rich builds and builds and builds until he hits Cynthia again, but this time in the presence of law enforcement, in presence of a law enforcement officer, okay, giving or putting Owen in a situation where he has no choice but to take Lincoln into custody. And poor job Lincoln, I say poor job Lincoln, not in a poor job kind of way, but Lincoln is now crying and, oh, Cynthia this, and he's crying. No. Okay? He gets angry, he gets more violent. Owen has had enough, and he arrests Lincoln. Of course, this has been I Right. I just want to ask Della if there's any parting words for our listeners.
I'll say we are each other's keeper. As much as we don't think it, but we are. Mm-hmm. We live on an island that is 27 miles long, you know.
14 miles wide.
It's very, very hard not to run into somebody. Yeah. A lot of the time you travel, and people say, I know so and so from Selensha. Do you know that person? And sometimes you actually know the person, you know. And we are each other's keeper. And if we stand with each other, and if we continue to support each other, we'll have a better solution, a better society. Okay.
For me, it is if you see something happening and you don't do anything, you in it too. Okay? Speak up. You see something that is wrong, it's even more. That's how, is that proper English? You know? It is even more wrong for you not to say anything or do anything about it. Speak up. I want to thank each and every one of you for participating in whatever way that you could, even just by listening and taking it all in. Of course, God's willing, we shall see you next Monday for another exciting episode and, of course, discourse of I Right. Good night to you, everybody.
Crazy. I cannot deal with this.
With BFF, I Right.
I just can't with all of these responsibilities.
Every Monday.
I hear the truth. And you perpetuating them kind of nastiness.
St. Lucia's latest hot radio drama.